Hello there, I'm Colleen.
I'm Anders.
And I'm Daniel.
We're three nerds that met through our love of science fiction and fantasy storytelling. Of course, one of our favorites is George Lucas's signature achievement, Star Wars.
And if there's one thing the internet definitely doesn't have enough of, it's nerds talking about Star Wars. So here we are with yet another Star Wars podcast, where each week we discuss one of the films in the current Star Wars canon.
From the sands of Tatooine to the levels of Coruscant, we cover it all. Yet another Star Wars podcast is available wherever you get your podcast and is part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
Do you like beer?
Do you like podcasts?
Do you like beer podcasts?
Then check out Crackin' One Open, a podcast about brews, news, and pop culture reviews.
Every week, we crack open a new craft beer from breweries around the country.
And sometimes the world.
We'll talk about how it was made, what's in it, the history of the brew, and the brewery.
Then we'll give our tasting notes, and while we're finishing up, we'll talk about some of the latest goings-on in the world of pop culture.
So check out Crackin' One Open with Mike and Elise, part of the Forgotten Entertainment family.
That was the best acting I've ever seen in my whole life.
Like you. Rick fucking Dalton.
Well, that's it. 10th episode. We're canceled.
That's it. We're over.
I'm John.
I'm Lloyd.
And we were on the QT.
We were.
You know what, though? I'm fighting this. We got one episode left, Lloyd. Let's do this.
Let's do it right now.
Let's do this right now. Now, before we talk about what is, I guess, in the end, the 9th Tarantino film.
Yeah, right. We have to admit it.
We have to admit it,
There's
finally.
9 films.
9 films. Kill Bill's 1, I guess. This is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Last guest, okay? Coup de grace, the Silver Fox, the Officer, Sheriff, Mike Simonetta from Connecticut Cult Classics as well.
Bounty Hunter.
Great to be back. Excited it's this movie, not Death Proof.
Yeah, well, again, I picked these randomly.
That's right.
And when I contacted you, were you psyched about this?
Oh, I was super psyched about it. Super psyched.
So we're here to talk Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Your fandom with Tarantino, where are you at with that?
Big fan. As everybody, you got to love the dialogue scenes, all the quirky conversations throughout. I think as you come to this, the culmination, that you just see him growing as a movie maker. You know, when you first started in Reservoir Dogs, it's a great movie, but the cinematography, not particularly interesting. Now, he's almost not boring, but at an art house level. And it's just the cinematography after The Hateful Eight and then this, it's just beautiful to look at as well as interesting and quirky all the way around.
Right. All right. That's good. And you're a big cinephile. You love movies. You're a big movie guy. As we've talked about, you love this time period this movie takes place in, right? 1969.
Yeah. It's it's so interesting. And, I don't think anybody could deny, even if you didn't love the movie, the recreation of 1969 here is just amazing.
Yeah.
It's
brings
flawless.
back old memories
and
for me.
To tie it in with the cinematography, he does not, usually when you go for classic movies, they go really tight because they can't afford to do a whole highway of old cars and redo an entire strip of buildings or whatever. But he's doing the whole fuse all the way down the highway, all up and down the block, et cetera. It's just amazing.
And with no or little, I don't know if it was no or little CGI.
There's CGI, but it's only when they had to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's CGI in The Great Escape.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, for sure.
That stuff, yes.
Yeah,
you're right.
that's
No,
different.
but like some of
the highway scene. He shut down a section of the LA freeway.
Yeah.
but the drive-in, like the whole entrance to the drive-in is a miniature.
A model.
Yeah, and then they, CGI'd it like together, him driving in and all that. But I mean, they did amazing things. I know you probably guys watched the behind the scenes, but like they bought an abandoned Taco Bell and reconstructed it just to show it turning on for 20 seconds,
yeah.
And they did a lot of that with the Cinemadrome and all these other classic buildings. So
this came out. This is obviously the newest one, July 26th of 2019. Just as a little note, this is the only one I had never seen kind of prior to starting on the QT. I've watched this twice in the last 2 months.
You've had it for like 2 years.
My first viewing was April.
Shame on you.
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. This was filmed June 18th, 2018 to November 1st of 2018. And filming locations, let's just put it this way, it's all over Los Angeles, California. It kind of gets a little bit too much into it. Started as a novel. Originally, he decided he was going to write a book, kind of after the Hateful Eight leak and everything. He thought he would start this as a novel. He also kind of morphed it into the scene in the beginning where Rick Dalton meets Marvin Schwartz was going to be a 1-act play. So he was playing with different things to do before he turned this into an actual feature film. Manster, I guess the best way to get right into this, because we're going to weave in and out of so much conversation, is why don't we get into, do you have a bumper sticker first of all for this one?
Yeah, well, basically it's a TV star and his longtime stunt double making their way through the changing Hollywood industry.
Heavily influenced by Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham, who were a star and stunt double, and Hal Needham ended up becoming the director of Smokey and the Bandit. And also, he doesn't say who it is, but Tarantino says a actor he worked with at some point who had this kind of like tag-along stunt double buddy that he kind of coerced him into giving, you know, like getting him on, which is something we see in this as well.
There are so many, and I'll get into some, there are so many real-life interwoven connections in this movie.
Yeah.
You could spend 2 hours just talking about those.
Tarantino himself said that when he wrote this script and he started filming, he went to 2 people mainly to get their opinions on whether he was getting it right. One of them was Burt Reynolds, who was still alive at the time, and was supposed to play a character in this movie that he passed away, and it was recast. We'll talk about that in a second. The other person who is also in this movie was Kurt Russell. Kurt Russell grew up in Hollywood in the 60s. He was a child star. His father was a bit actor and kind of a character actor and stuff. And he would ask both of them. And in the features on the Blu-ray, there's a part where they talk to Kurt Russell about it, and he's like, he nailed it. He absolutely nailed it. This is the Hollywood of my memory. And not to mention Tarantino is from, you know, the Hollywood area.
Yeah.
He grew up in the 60s, so this is also culled from his memory. Let's talk about the cast of this giant fucking cast in this movie.
All right, I'm going to start with the fictional characters that are in Rick Dalton's crew. All right, so first you have Leonardo DiCaprio as Rick Dalton. Basically, he's an actor who starred in a fictitious Western series, Bounty Law, which itself is based on a real series, Wanted Dead or Alive, with Steve McQueen. And basically, you know, he's got a relationship with Cliff Booth, based on, like you said, Burt Reynolds and Hal Needham. So then we have Brad Pitt as Cliff Booth, Dalton's stunt double and best friend. So his character and the performance were based on a number of actual stuntmen in Hollywood and a lot of other characters. Cliff's wife in the movie, Billy, and her ambiguous death, I don't know if you know this, is based on Natalie Wood's death.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Then we have Al Pacino as Marvin Schwartz.
Marvin Nash.
Not Schwartz. Not Schwartz.
Yeah, it's like Schwarz, right?
Schwarz.
Yeah. So basically, that's just his agent, and it was written specifically for Pacino.
Yeah, he wanted to work with Pacino.
Yep.
And they don't show her, but in the beginning of the movie, he says he watched a couple of Rick Dalton movies with his wife.
Yes.
His wife is played by Brenda Vaccaro, but she's never shown in the movie. But she's credited as I can't remember. I think he says her name in the movie, and it's Brenda Vaccaro, the actress, but she's never actually shown in the movie.
Nice. So then you have Cliff's pit bull, Brandy, played by 3 different dogs, Sayuri, Cerberus, and Serenus. Yeah, 3. And the last one in the last final scene, that was the male, more aggressive dog of the 3.
Aggression is for sure.
Yes, yeah. We have Michael Madsen as the sheriff on Bounty Law.
Mike, do you know what is interesting about this Madsen performance in a Tarantino movie?
I do.
All right, go ahead. I don't. What's different? You're saying something's different?
Yeah.
Something's different about this one Madsen role.
Out of the 5 he's been in.
He does not die.
Doesn't die.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Die. Now, he plays a character in a show, but he doesn't die there.
Correct.
Right. Then we have Kurt Russell as Randy Lloyd, and he also is the narrator in the narration parts. And Zoe Bell as Janet Lloyd, his wife.
And you get a nice little Death Proof callback there because Kurt Russell played Stuntman Mike, and Zoe Bell played Zoe.
Yep. So there's a lot of, and Bounty Hunters, that's another theme. So you had a bounty hunter from Django. You have a bounty hunters from Hateful Eight. And you could really consider Hans Landa sort of a bounty hunter himself.
He is, yeah.
Yep, so like 4 bounty hunters in a row. All right, so that's it for that crew. So now I'll get into the Sharon Tate crew, historical characters. Margot Robbie as Sharon Tate, an actress and model who lived with Polanski at the time, I guess. Was she married, or is that part of what was kind of interwoven with reality?
I believe they were married to each other.
I know they were married, but I don't know if they were married. Yeah, I guess.
Oh, yes, they were married at the time.
Yeah, they were.
All right. And in real life, she was murdered by the members of that Manson cult on August 9th, 1969.
Yeah, I think it's important for us to point out right off the bat, if you've never seen this, this is much like Inglourious Bastards. This is Tarantino's other big revisionist history movie.
Yes, very revisionist.
And I want to talk about like that. We'll get there, but I want to talk about that later.
Yep.
Yeah.
She was 8.5 months pregnant when she was killed.
Yeah.
You have Emil Hirsch as Jay Sebring. Basically, he's a celebrity hairstylist, Tate's friend, ex-boyfriend, and friend of Bruce Lee and Steve McQueen, that whole crew.
You know, one of the craziest things was as I was kind of researching the real Tate LaBianca murders that happened on that night.
Yeah.
Jay Sebring, super interesting guy.
Yeah, he is.
First of all, he was like the first celebrity hairstylist.
Yep.
When other guys were charging $2 for haircuts, he was charging $50. Frank Sinatra used to fly him out every 3 weeks to cut his hair. He started a bunch of schools before he passed away that are still teaching his methods today.
His styles, he invented styles for men that never existed before.
And here's the other crazy part, is he was friends with Bruce Lee and introduced Bruce Lee to people in Hollywood. So he kind of had a big part in getting his Bruce Lee start in Hollywood.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Yeah.
There's even a full-length feature-length documentary about him called Jay Sebring, Cutting to the Truth.
He guest starred in an episode of the 66 Batman series like a year before he died, and he played a character named Jay Oceanbring. he basically played himself, but instead of Sebring, they called him Oceanbring.
That's funny.
That's hilarious. All right, Rafal Zawarucha as Roman Polanski, not a very big part. But he was the director of Rosemary's Baby and Fearless Vampire Killers.
Do you think, Mike, one of the best lines in the movie is when they're at the Playboy Mansion and Steve McQueen, macho Steve McQueen, obviously has a thing for Sharon Tate, and he's pointing out to like the blonde next to him. She used to date that guy, right? And then she left that guy for that guy. Now you can't see this, but Jay Sebring and Roman Polanski are these two kind of like, and the girl says it. Yeah. She goes, she likes guys that look like 12-year-olds. And what does he say?
I don't have a chance.
He says, I never had a chance.
I never had a chance.
Never had a chance. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good line. So then next we're moving on. Damian Lewis as Steve McQueen. Like you said, actor, friend of all these people. He declined an invitation to Tate's house on the night of the murders.
He is not the only famous person that didn't go. You know another one?
Who
was good friends with Jay? So Sharon Tate invited, I guess, Steve McQueen over. Quincy Jones was invited by Jay Sebring.
I did not know that.
And did not go. There was multiple people that could have been there that night.
Jeez.
Wow. Yeah. And just for history's sake, because we're going to get into the movie, nobody survived.
Right.
There was 4 people murdered that night.
Yep.
Murdered. Nobody got away.
Yep.
So you've got to assume if there was 2 more people there, they probably wouldn't have gotten away either.
Yeah. And Steve McQueen's name was on the hit list.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then you have Mike Moe as Bruce Lee. I don't know Mike Moe. Do you guys know anything about him? There's so many people in this movie. I don't know.
No, he was good though.
He was great.
Yeah, that was a really good scene.
This is a big controversy scene, Mike. How do you feel about the treatment of Bruce Lee?
I've been reading about that and his daughter getting very upset. I think it's fine because we have an entire historical movie, and they're playing with history all the way throughout. And I think it was fine. And you know what? I think there's a little bit of a difference because I think people are trying to twist it into, hate against an Asian person, like we're having, which 100% for real. And it's awful that it happened after COVID, but Bruce Lee is Bruce Lee. He's huge. He's an icon, There's a million novels and movies where, icons there. I mean, Steve McQueen didn't actually say the things he says here, Are we mad that Steve McQueen is smoking a joint and, discussing Roman Polanski's life or whatever? Like, no, I think it was perfectly fine. I think it was fun. I think it was fun.
I think what you
exactly. It was fun.
You got to look at this movie.
It's a movie.
Not just that, but like I didn't think about it till this time when I watched it. But when it ends with the title, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is a fairy tale.
Yeah,
of course.
This is a fairy tale taking real life characters, not real life characters, mixing them together and kind of being hyper realistic about it.
Right.
Right? Yeah, the Bruce Lee thing, and he was supposedly really known for fucking around with stuntmen. Whether that's true or not, that's what a lot of stuntmen have come out and said.
Yeah.
That Bruce Lee, he didn't have a problem with knocking your fucking teeth out. So.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of things
lethal
here.
Lethal weapons. It's 2 hands.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
Bruce Dern's character, they got taken. We know he got taken advantage of by the Manson family entirely, but it's not a good paint of him. But he was a victim. But
right.
It's life. It's.
I guess two of the biggest problems people have with this movie are one, a lot of people call out the Bruce Lee stuff. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who was friends with Bruce Lee, called this movie out and saying it was, that it was kind of racist to do that. And the other thing that a lot of people, I guess, I didn't realize this till I read it, was that in the movie, even though the Manson family are murderers, they're repeatedly referred to as hippies.
Yeah.
They
hippies.
completely kind of skip the white supremacy aspect of it, which was a large part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? I mean...
But so here's the difference, though. You wouldn't know the white supremacy part unless the family was talking. Because that was Charlie. Those who know serial killers, and Charlie, yes, didn't officially kill somebody, but that was part of his insane plan, a race war and all that. That doesn't come into play. And, and that's also a running joke, that Rick Dalton hates hippies.
Right.
He runs all the way through, even when he gets the costume and he's like, I wanted you to look like a hippie. And he's like, oh, no. But how much do you want to go into the Manson family? I mean, we're following Rick Dalton, Cliff Booth. There are weave throughout. If the only question I would have with this, and I'm fine with it because I think it's fine. The Sharon Tate kind of jaunt is the one piece I think that's weird about this movie, because we follow Rick and Cliff really the whole time.
Yeah.
But then we go watch Sharon
in the movie theater.
Yeah, go get a book and then go to the movie theater. And I'm perfectly fine with it. But that's the one time, and she picks up a hitchhiker. All of that's just, I know you were getting to know Sharon Tate, right?
Right.
But it's superfluous.
Also, if you don't know how this movie ends, if you're going into this movie blind, you're like, we're following her because this is going to end with her getting murdered.
Yeah. It's not going to end good for her.
It's not going to end well for her.
So you got to know that if you're going in. Because if you don't, then you don't even know who this is.
Well, but that's what I'm saying is I think that they want in the movie world to have you kind of get to know. I mean, because honestly, you can't not like her.
No,
she's fucking, first of all, Margot Robbie. I mean, let's not just go to the physical, but she's gorgeous.
Right.
She's also, the way she plays Sharon Tate, whether or not Sharon Tate was truly this way, this is a dumb word, but she's effervescent. She's always dancing and happy and she seems like the nicest person. That scene where she goes to the theater and, tells them can I
innocently,
can I get in and see this? Because I'm in the movie and she has to convince them.
And then Tarantino has to show us her dirty ass feet.
We see her dirty feet.
Oh yeah,
her hobbit feet, which was a truism.
Yeah.
Sharon Tate supposedly walked around barefoot all the time, and that was Sharon. Now getting into the ending of this movie real quick, Sharon Tate's sister, after the initial, I guess, disagreement of what to do with this, she gave them full go ahead and do this. Margot Robbie wears some of Sharon Tate's jewelry in this movie.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
real stuff. Huh?
Yeah, and she also gave her an insight, and one of them was that her feet were always dirty. She was barefoot.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the family hated that other one, the Ghost of Sharon Tate, I think it was. Or
I've never heard of it.
Yeah, there's another movie where they follow Sharon Tate. I mean, nowhere near as good as crap, really. But and she has ghostly visions that she's going to get murdered or whatever.
Oh.
And
we don't need that.
And that that was only a couple of years after this, and it was a big the family of course hated that crap.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. The last one I have here in that crew was Rumor Willis as Joanna Pettit.
Yeah,
she was an actress.
Yeah, I read that she was in this, and I couldn't figure out who she was. And I think
there's so many people I couldn't even pick out.
I think she's the pregnant friend that comes over at the end.
Okay.
And she brings her baby, and it's right before everything starts at the end.
All right, gotcha. All right, the next crew is historical characters from the Lancer TV show. And I'm going to start with a fictional character.
So Bounty Law is a fake TV show based on a real TV show.
Yeah.
Lancer is a real TV show.
It was a real TV show.
Yeah.
Right. And there's some interesting connections with all these. But the first one I'm going to say, she is not a historical character. She's fictional just for the movie. The little girl, Julia Butters, as Trudy Frazier.
Mirabelle.
Boy, she was great.
Wait, no, that's an actual actress.
No, Trudy Frazier is not. She's a composite of another actual actress. I was reading that today. It's not. She's based on somebody, but that's not the real one.
The actual person in the movie is not a real character.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So she's the precocious child actor, basically, who portrays, like you said, Mirabella on Lancer.
She doesn't eat lunch when she's about to shoot.
Right, yeah. And she makes her feel too sluggish. And her characterization was inspired by Jodie Foster, an actual character from the series portrayed by Eve Plum. This is getting really weird.
Yeah, there's a lot of this going on.
Yeah. So then we have Timothy Olyphant as James Stacy, an actor who starred on the TV show Lancer. And he's last shown in the film Leaving on a Motorcycle. That harkens back to the fact that he was actually killed in a motorcycle accident.
No, he wasn't killed. Him in 1973.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, I said that wrong.
His girlfriend and him were going somewhere in the Hollywood Hills. They got hit by a car.
Yeah.
She died. He lost his left arm and leg.
His arm and leg, right.
He continued to act for years, and people were, because he was so well liked in the Hollywood community, they would give him roles that were geared towards an actor with that handicap. Yeah.
Yeah, there's just so much here. I just read my notes wrong.
No, it's fine.
And his ex-wife was Connie Stevens.
Yes.
Now, I have to say, in all the times I've ever seen Timothy Olyphant, he looks so more ordinary here than ever before, just because of his kind of like greasy, straight, flat hair.
He's my man crush.
Yeah.
And in this, he's not remarkable.
Exactly.
He seems like he lost some weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that too. Yeah.
But it's great to have him in a Tarantino movie.
Oh no, he's great. He's a great actor.
I love that guy.
He's a great actor.
Yep.
Then you have Luke Perry as Wayne Maunder, basically another actor from Lancer. Now, Luke Perry unfortunately died during the film. No, I got that wrong, right?
No, I think he died after.
He died after, but it was his last movie.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. Wayne Maunder died during the filming of this movie. Okay. Luke Perry portrays him, and he died 4 months later of a stroke.
Yeah. And it's real sad too. And the thing with Luke Perry being in this movie is that Luke Perry is one of those actors that, people have a stigma about him because he was Dylan in Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah.
But he's the kind of actor. He's the kind of actor that Tarantino does a great job of bringing back out.
Right.
And one of the most impressive things that I read about this was that Leonardo DiCaprio was starstruck around him.
Oh, really?
Because when he was a kid, Perry was like the up and coming guy.
Really?
And he said that DiCaprio said that he felt some of his hardest scenes to do were the scenes with Perry, because he felt like that was somebody from his childhood that he looked up to.
Huh.
Yeah, well, he treats him like shit.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right. So moving on to historical characters from the Charles Manson crew. So Margaret Qualley as Pussycat.
She'll suck your dick while you're driving, by the way.
Yeah.
You got to see the ID first. I love that scene.
I don't know what else you might know her from, but to me, she's the girl from The Leftovers.
Yeah, I've never
really
seen her
great
before.
TV show on HBO.
I've not seen
Then you have Damon Harriman as Charlie. Now, he was briefly in this movie, but he was fantastic in Mindhunter
as
when he
Manson.
also
as Charles
played
Manson.
Charles
Yes.
Manson.
Talk about getting pigeonholed, right?
Yeah, right.
He's also great. Talking about Timothy Olyphant, he played Dewey Crow on Justified. He was this recurring character through all the seasons of Justified. Did you watch Justified?
I watched the first few. I got tired in the middle.
I enjoy that. He was like this hillbilly criminal.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one
He's
yet.
an Australian actor. He's pretty good.
Dakota Fanning as Squeaky. She's the lady sleeping with Spawn.
Yeah, and originally intended to be Jennifer Lawrence, but she didn't get the role, or she didn't take the role. She was offered it and then didn't do it.
Right. Well, it's Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah.
Then you have Bruce Dern as George Spahn. He was in Django and Hateful Eight.
Yep.
And I think I have it further down and how he became part of this role. Maya Hawke as Flower Child. She's also Robin from Stranger Things.
Look, let me say something right now.
Yep.
Right. So there's a lot of celebrity actors and actresses that have kids, right?
Yep.
And there's a lot of them that look just like their parents. There's not one. I think I said this on the Stranger Things season 3 episode, but I hadn't seen her in a couple of years. She sounds exactly like Uma Thurman.
Uma.
That last scene where she's talking to the rest of the Manson family, shut your eyes. It's Uma Thurman. And it's Uma Thurman's kid, but like she literally has the same voice as her mother. Same. It's like she dubbed her voice.
I'll have to check that out.
Check it out.
Now I gotta go back.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Shut your eyes. It sounds not kind of like, exactly like Uma Thurman.
Yeah. Then you have Austin Butler as Tex. I don't really know him, but I guess he's apparently a heartthrob type of actor.
I looked him up. I didn't recognize him, but he definitely doesn't look like the greasy scumbag he's in this thing.
Yeah.
And Tex is the like the guy that did the heavy lifting in the actual murders.
Oh yeah.
Like
he was a killer.
He was like the killer of pretty much everybody. And if you go to like the Wikipedia or any of that stuff and read it, it's brutal.
And he was not nobody was a murderer, I imagine, before.
No, Tex he was in prison and he was a bad dude.
Yeah,
beforehand.
He was like a problem beforehand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wasn't like an innocent hippie like the
others. Okay.
What?
Hippies. Lena Dunham as Gypsy. She's the creator of the HBO Girls. Madison Beatty as Katie. Mikey Madison as Sadie. Victoria Pendretti as Lulu. Now, I know her from, she was Love Quinn on season 2 of You on Netflix. You ever see that?
No. Nope.
That's a cool show. Sydney Sweeney as Snake. Kansas Bowling as Blue. James Landry Herbert as Clem. And then I've got two that...
You missed one of the biggest names. Not biggest names, but...
I got two more here. That
okay.
These are real characters, and I got the next two not really sure if these are real characters. I couldn't find anywhere if they were truly
I was reading about this. A lot of these Manson girls are amalgamations of people put together. Yeah.
So Harley Quinn Smith as Froggy. Second movie in a row I've seen Harley Quinn Smith. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And Danielle Harris as Angel.
Hyper pregnant in this movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
She's super tiny and she's so fucking pregnant in this movie.
Yeah.
So, Mike, how would you describe this, man? A day in the life of two guys? I mean...
it's the day in the life of a decline of a popular TV actor. And what is it? It's what? Well, I mean, there's a lot of time, but we see pretty much, was it 4 days?
4 days, and then we
full
skip
days.
like 6 months.
There's a quickie there, but again, the foreboding. Right in the beginning, we get told that through the camera movements that they live on Cielo Drive, and then you get the date because he's leading up to that. So even if you didn't know, you get the date across the bottom. At the beginning, we see the meeting with Al Pacino. And if we didn't know that Rick had problems, Pacino just chops him down and he's got a full breakdown.
He's totally broken after he comes out of that meeting.
Yes. Yes.
Well, that's it, buddy. I'm a has-been.
Yeah.
And I love Cliff's like, don't cry in front of the Mexicans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of? I thought this was a really cool kind of feature, or at least something that DiCaprio added to his performance, the stuttering. Right?
Yeah, that was great.
He's not a heavy stutterer, but he stammers and he stutters several. And this is a guy who's a professional actor. Did you like that addition to the character?
I am super impressed when I went back and thought about it. So DiCaprio is a really good actor, right? But he's playing a lousy actor.
Right.
And then at the same time, he has to play a lousy actor trying to act.
Yeah.
So he's got, there's a lot of levels going on there. So I think it's a really great role. And, something that somebody that has to be sure of themselves would do,
right.
because he's a schlub throughout. I mean, even though he's a quote unquote star, he's clearly a drunk. He does seem to be on a decline.
You had to have 8 whiskey sours.
Yeah.
You couldn't stop at 2. Yes. You had to have 8.
Yeah. So, I think it's a great performance. Again, if you weren't assured yourself as an actor as he is, you would say, I want Cliff's role because he's a badass and kicks everybody's butt and whatever. But DiCaprio just dives in. It's great.
Yeah.
It's great stuff.
Yeah.
Master, what did you think about a 55-year-old Brad Pitt with his shirt off?
I actually have a note on that. In my note, I actually do. And my note says 55-year-old Brad Pitt is still dreamy.
Yeah. Yeah. He kind of fell off my radar for a while. I used to love Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
And then okay, he's still a good looking guy, but there's Cliff Booth, and we're going to get into it.
When I take my shirt off, no, that it ain't there.
After we talk about the movie and after we rate the movie proper,
yeah,
Mike has read the novelization that Tarantino recently put out. And we're going to talk about some of the stuff at the end of the show that ties into the novel to this movie.
All right, let's do that.
But when you get to the Cliff Booth character, he's just such a fucking cool character.
Yeah.
Like, you're like, man, I wish I was like Cliff Booth. Now, there's some unsavory stuff going on as well. Like, they're in the movie straight up, there's the complete did he or did he not murder his wife? It's never solved in the movie.
And they don't really show anything that happens.
No, they show you the scenario.
And then you just hear a wave crash.
Wave crash. He's got a harpoon gun pointed at her, but not at her on purpose.
Right.
He's holding it as in like he's just going to go diving with it. She gets up to bitch at him, and then we cut. But everybody, multiple people, Kurt Russell's character, Kurt Russell's wife's character,
especially her.
It's a known fact that this guy probably killed his wife.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it was great because his wife was a bitch.
Yeah.
So you got it like, well, I can kill that bitch too, man.
Yeah. His wife was rough. That's
I thought about it. Rough. Yeah.
So yeah, we're getting to see this actor on the decline with his buddy, and let's be honest, his buddy needs him, right?
Oh,
because if he's not working,
they need each other.
Yeah. If he's support, right? Cliff is support for Rick. He's his gopher. He's his handyman. He's all that stuff. But Rick is also Cliff's ticket into staying in that world because he can occasionally do a job with him.
Right.
Right. And their heyday was Rick was the lead of Bounty Law. Okay. And now he's in the point of his career where he's just getting these guest starring roles as villains in the show of the week.
As explained by Al Pacino.
The show of the week. And Al Pacino wants him to what? Go to Italy for what?
Yeah. For Italian.
He wants to do the Italian movies.
Yep.
I want to throw this out there because I just think
and that's
great.
A good scene with Cliff and him, too. And I don't know, are you going to read that?
No, go ahead.
When he says, oh, well, he said I could do Italian movies. And Cliff is like, oh, yeah, that's a great idea. Why don't you do that? He said, I don't want to do no fucking Italian movies.
So Stephen, I think it's Charlie, is a poster artist. And there's a little moment where they flash all of the Italian movies that Rick Dalton did and their posters. And they're all great. I would love like a book of the art. Yeah. But here's some of the titles of the films that when they do go to Italy, that Rick does. He does, let's see, Nebraska Jim.
Yep.
Operation Dynamite. Here's my favorite. Operation Dynamite. Directed by Antonio Margheriti, which is a callback to Inglourious Bastards and a real director of spaghetti westerns.
Correct.
So his name inspired the Inglourious Bastards joke, which came back around in this one.
Yeah.
Here's my favorite of the Italian movies he did. Uccidimi subito Ringo dieso le gringo.
You got it.
And then he did the Hellfire, Texas, Comanche Uprising, and those were all of his. And that guy also did the actual poster art for the Once Upon a Time in Hollywood movie.
I loved all the poster art all throughout the whole movie.
It's classic. I miss so much the time when people used to paint actual movies posters.
Drew Struzan, right? Like stuff like that.
Yeah, yes. Oh, it's great.
There's so much. This is a movie that I knew coming into doing this episode was going to either, there's no way to capture this movie in an hour and a half conversation.
No.
Nope.
There's so much going on here. There's so much happening. I mean, the production design, right? He went to this woman named Barbara Ling. And the reason he went to her, she's from Los Angeles. Now, here's a couple movies on her radar that you could say, hey, look, whether you like the movies or not, the production design is pretty impressive. Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. But the reason he chose her is because she did The Doors. And he felt that the production design in The Doors captured Los Angeles of the 60s very well. There's a whole behind the scenes thing. Mike, did you watch that? Where they're talking about how they took 4 blocks of Hollywood Boulevard and just painstakingly went through it, recreated it.
And that's and they repainted the murals on the walls.
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, they bought a Taco Bell, redid it, and then did that there. They're doing all kinds of signs. They redid the Cinema Dome theater.
Yep.
It's just amazing, all the stuff that they went through and put all that back in. That's also one of the few places they have some other CGI because they actually take out skyscrapers. Right. Because there's a lot of big, huge skyscrapers now, and they took those out just in the background though.
All right, that's totally acceptable.
Yeah. That's fine. CGI was used, not as a crutch in this. It was used as a tool.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish I had the time. I laid that out. I put it in my DVD player, and I planned on watching those extras last night. And something happened at home, and I did not have time to do it.
Well, just at your leisure, check them out. They're worth it.
I will like to go back to that.
They're definitely worth it. This movie, I feel like it's weighted. I mean, I'm not complaining about it, but there's this total element of like a hang movie, right? You're just immersed in these people's day, right? Yeah. You're watching Rick go to work, okay? But then you get a scene like the scene at the Spahn Ranch. That's like watching something out of a horror movie.
Filled with tension.
Like the tension is like at a fucking 1,000. So because we talked about it a few times, we're weaving in these two fake guys. And, they're in the orbit of the Manson family and they're in the orbit of the Sharon Tate murders, and we know from the dates and everything that this is going to probably culminate with all that. But we get to see how they kind of intercede with certain things. And there's a whole scene where Brad Pitt's character picks up the hitchhiker, Pussycat, who he's seen 3 times now. And the 3rd time's the charm, he's going her way, and she says, take me to the Spahn Movie Ranch. Spahn Movie Ranch is somewhere he used to film Bounty Law.
Right.
So he wants to go check it out. When he gets there, what does he find?
Hippies.
He finds a bunch of hippies and to a World War II vet.
Yep.
What are hippies? They're a suspect, right?
Yep. And to Tarantino's credit and art direction, that's a flawless recreation of that compound,
which burned down in 1970, I think it was, a year after this movie's set.
Yeah, but I saw I've seen pictures of the actual compound. It's flawless. Even the trailers in the perfect spot and the house on the hill and the whole thing. Again, this not only, I mentioned earlier he's growing as a cinematographer, but this is where he's really swinging the weight where, now he has the pull of like a Spielberg to be able to afford this.
Right.
He couldn't have done this probably, even 3 movies ago.
What was the budget on this, Lloyd? Did we mention that?
90 to 96 million. That's what I could find.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that there's no fucking CGI dinosaurs in this fucking thing, right? There's no spaceships being blown out of the sky, but I mean, for the set design and to be able to shut down sections of the highway and have nothing but period cars on the road, you would think that it's got to cost more than that, to me at least.
Right. Well, he knows how to spend every penny.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about that too, we've discussed this before. You think about Marvel movies and other Disney franchises where everyone's 300 million, and the backgrounds are CGI, generic, just like a generic city. You wouldn't remember it at all. Right. It's like, where's that extra 200 mil?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yes, cocaine.
Well, hey,
mo cocaine. So we're at the Spahn Ranch, and Cliff, he's very, concerned all of a sudden because he knows that the guy that owns the Spahn Ranch is elderly.
Right.
Right. And he starts to put his nose in there. Hey, I'd like to go see, I know George Spahn lives in that house over there. I'd like to go see him. And the hippies are all trying to keep him away. And it's
crazy. He's on their turf.
He's on their turf.
He's surrounded by dirty hippies.
But we know that even though we've never seen it in the movie, we know he's been surrounded by worse in the past.
Yes.
Like, that this guy's not afraid. So he goes in and he goes to check on him. And who was the original actor supposed to play George Spahn?
That was going to be Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds. This was Burt Reynolds' last ever movie he was scheduled to be in. His last ever table read he ever did.
Yeah.
And according to Tarantino, the night he died, he was reading back lines with his assistant on this movie. There's a little joke in the film where someone says that Brad Pitt's character is too good looking to be a stuntman.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually Burt Reynolds' line.
Oh, right.
Brad Pitt apparently doesn't like jokes to be made about his looks because, he feels like it's low-hanging fruit. But when Tarantino told him that that's something you should include in there, he said, throw it in there, So Burt Reynolds dies. He can't play him. They get Bruce Dern, who was just recently in Hateful Eight and in A Small World and Django Unchained. And he plays this really infirm old guy that's blind in a bedroom. And
I'm not blind. You're blind.
Yeah, what does he say? John Wilkes Booth? Like he can't hear. He's blind. He's obviously being taken advantage of by the Manson family. But I mean, he doesn't seem to mind so much because he gets to watch TV and gets fucked by
young girls.
By young girls. So I mean, he's kind of living his best life for a blind guy who's probably in bed half the day.
Yeah.
Mike, did you feel the tension in that scene?
I did. And more that when you talk about it, you think about it, I'm actually happy it was Bruce Dern. I don't know if because he kind of melts into the role a little bit better, I think, than Burt Reynolds would have. I think you would recognize Burt Reynolds a little bit more.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree too.
That might take it out. It's like, oh, that's Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. But no, I mean, look, it was really interesting, and it's a different side of Cliff, because Cliff is just a tough guy,
right?
He's obviously here, and you see actual concern for him. He's worried. He's actually worried about the guy. Why are you doing here with these guys? And he's with all these weirdos, hippies,
and he's just not backing down.
No,
like that's his mission. Like that screen door, that's not going to stop me.
Right.
Yeah.
But he's surrounded just by people that are, what the fuck they could do. I mean,
and they're trying to
obviously, they could do a lot of bad shit.
In real life, they did do a lot of bad shit. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they, they make it a point to point out that there's a couple of tough guys there. They don't say it in the movie, but in real life, the guy Clem, who stabbed his tire in real life, actually murdered the ranch hand on the Spawn Ranch.
Oh, wow.
He was an outlaw biker. He was an outlaw biker of some form at that time. And he apparently murdered a stuntman that was like a ranch hand there at one point, and he had gotten away with it. So, in the movie we see his comeuppance, which is great. I mean,
that was fantastic.
That's to fix it, know. This is my boss's car. Just I don't know. I've always liked Brad Pitt.
So it's just one point. So this guy slashes Brad Pitt's tires as he's getting ready to leave because he's got to get the fuck out of there.
Right.
And he can't go anywhere, and he just punches this guy right in the face.
He beats the fuck out of him.
Goes right down, gets up, punches him again, fix it. He keeps saying fix it every time.
I absolutely love that scene too, because you've got all these, like, even though they're the Manson family, these hippie chicks, and he's getting his ass kicked, and the girl's like, I love you.
Yeah.
Like,
and
to him.
They put their hands to their heart.
Right.
Like,
And they're all like, oh, and Pitt is just kicking the fuck out of him.
Right.
And he's spitting blood out. Can I at least get a rag? He's like, no, fix it.
Fix it.
Yeah.
We see just a lot of other, like, day-to-day things. Like, there's a whole scene where we go and follow Rick Dalton on a day on the set of Lancer.
Oh.
And that scene's fantastic.
It is. And his interaction with the girls playing into him, coming to the end of his career and breaking down. And I absolutely loved that you, in essence, are watching Lancer, and then out of nowhere he breaks and he's like, fuck, what's my line? Fuck. And then you hear the director yelling and everything, and then it goes back and you watch it again, and then you're literally watching the show again until they pull back, and now we see that, oh, it's a set, and there's all this stuff. It was
I love seeing that bit where, like, they're because they're filming the show. And you see, like, Timothy Olyphant's got to stop eating the beans and start over again. Even though he doesn't say anything, it's just watching him try to reverse back to where he has to be.
And Rick Dalton yells out, line.
And then the actual camera on the show in the movie goes back around the table to start over again. It's a setup inside of a movie while you're watching this TV show. And he's well famous, Tarantino, for not allowing his actors to improvise.
Well, do you know that whole thing where he was flubbing his lines, like Leo came up with that idea?
And that's what I was going to say, was he doesn't normally let that happen. Django Unchained. Jamie Foxx was on Howard Stern, and they had asked him around the time Django Unchained was out, and he said, does he let you? And he's like, no. He said his one thing is you say my fucking words, Right. You could add things like in your performance, you say my fucking words. But DiCaprio has this idea, like, I'm going to flub my lines.
Right. It would be too perfect if we just did it all out.
Right. So he flubs his lines, but the real scene that was improvised, and the reason it's edited funnily, or at least edited where it's choppy, is because they let him go for a while, is the scene where he goes back in the trailer and fucking freaks the fuck out.
Which is one of the best scenes in the movie.
Yeah. Where he's yelling himself about I love the fact in that scene, he's yelling himself about being a drunk. And he makes the comment about 8 whiskey sours, should have stopped at 2. He pulls his flask out. He starts to take a drink, and then he realizes he's drinking, and he fucking throws it. I absolutely fucking love that. I absolutely love that. DiCaprio is really good in this movie.
And he was nervous going into that, because they decided, well, it's got to come back. Like I flubbed my lines, but it has to come back on me at some point, and I have to deal with that. So it was Quentin Tarantino said, well, we're going to do that in the trailer. You're just going to go crazy and figure out. And Leo was really like just nervous, kind of like Michael Madsen was about the dance in Reservoir Dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was like that kind of deal. He goes, don't worry, you'll be fine. Just start going for it. And I'll just kind of like yell out little things for you to get mad about. And so that's how it happened. Like Tarantino would just say, you drank too many whiskey sours. And he, fucking drank too many whiskey sours. You know, so it came together so well.
And I love the fact too that like earlier in the movie, like a couple scenes earlier, we get the night before and he's like in his pool listening to a recording of someone reading off the other lines and he's responding to them.
Yes.
Like you see his process as an actor.
And that recording is amazing because it's like Spanish, something, whatever.
Yeah. I want to know from you, what are some of the scenes, what are some of the moments of this movie that really stick out to you?
Some people complain. I loved it, but it's background. But there's just such great transitions. They do it through driving. So everybody's got a convertible, and there's just this great transition from Hollywood to Rick's shitty trailer in Vinoy's. The Roman and Sharon going over to the Playboy Mansion,
right?
Which again, if you're of a certain age, you knew that was the best parties in Hollywood, and they end up in the grotto where supposedly all the Playboy or Playgirl and Playboy people had sex with all the famous stars and etc. And it's just so flawless with the camera movement of following them in the cars. He's got, again, because he's nailing 1969, we're listening to the radio and it's constant, like
one of the best parts.
There's great songs, but there's also all these ads for classic shows and classic movies and
The Illustrated Man.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's obviously, this is just Tarantino's love coming through.
I guess the music supervisor went through like 26 hours or 15 hours of whatever the big station was, the AM station in LA at the time.
Yep.
And just took and culled all these ads and all these other things and put them together. And there's like, if you know the time period, because if you listen, there's like news bits, like when they leave the restaurant in the beginning where they have the meeting with Schwartz.
Yeah, with Schwartz.
You hear them talking about Sirhan.
Yep.
Which, obviously Robert Kennedy assassination. You hear a few different things throughout the whole thing.
Yep.
Yeah. It's just so well done. And again, to go back to cinematography, everything they're doing is just naturally showing it off as we're enjoying people just walk. When they come out of that meeting with Al Pacino, the camera just slightly tilts up because they're in front of this cool old restaurant billboard. Then, there's one scene of Brad Pitt driving and the camera's tilted up and you see like the old Kentucky Fried Chicken bucket go by and just all these classic neon signs and all this stuff.
Capitol Records building in the background.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, as you said, you just swim in 1969. It's just great. It's just, I can't get over how well he captured it and how well you feel like that you're not really there, but you're really seeing it.
And you were also saying before we recorded, we were just kind of casually talking. You said something, and I want you to kind of get back into that about how the film stuff inside the film looks like what it would look like.
Oh, yeah, it's flawless. Yeah. So I mean, you guys mentioned, that some of Cliff is based on Burt Reynolds, but when we watched the FBI TV show, it's the actual FBI TV show that had Burt Reynolds, and they edit out, and DiCaprio redoes his scene, so they edit it back in.
He chews the gum. Like Burt Reynolds is known for being a gum chewer.
Yep.
If you watch that scene, DiCaprio's chewing the gum, and then Pitt has that great line where he says the gum chewing is really strong when they're watching it. I love that bit.
But every time they cut to, when they cut to his movie, The 16 Fingers of McCluskey, it's in perfect Panavision from the time. Widescreen, kind of overwrought color. When they cut to the TV shows, it's the perfect 4:3 aspect ratio. I think Tarantino, he's tipping his hat a little too much in that when Pacino's like, well, I only watched your movie in 35 millimeter and then I only watched your TV show in 16 millimeter. I'm like, all right, Tarantino, relax. But still, it's all flawless. Even all the way to the end, the faux cigarette ad, it's just dead on. This is literally, except for the fact that it's not curved and in shitty, that was coming over some rabbit ear antennas. Like everything is just perfect. It's exactly what you would have saw on TV. And a lot of that is, stuff. We saw the opening to Mannix when we were in Cliff's trailer, and obviously that's the real opening to Mannix and things like that. So it's that stick of detail is just amazing.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it, the detail.
Yeah,
the attention to detail in this movie, right, Manster, is it's
incredible. And some of it's not even timely accurate. Like you said, the Playboy Mansion and the party that didn't even open until after these murders.
Right,
but it doesn't matter.
That's actually the real Playboy Mansion too.
Yeah,
Hefner had sold it to a private owner before he died, and they went to the guy and said, "Look, we want to film here," and it was being renovated, but he let them do what they had to do to deck it out to look as close to 69 as possible, and they filmed there.
Yeah.
Incredible. The whole thing, man. This movie, I sat on this. I slept on this movie way too long.
And to think about, even again, we go into detail. So we follow Roman and Sharon, through Hollywood to the Playboy Mansion, out through the grotto. Everybody's partying, and then we get a recreation of Steve McQueen just to give us plot points.
Right.
Like in a smaller movie, you would that would have been thrown away by two people standing in front of a wall or window, maybe, and just saying, hey, they used to date and now she's dating him or whatever. But, he places it in such a massive, memorable place.
And not just that, but he gets Damian Lewis, who's not like he's not a huge star, but he's no slouch. He's no slouch to do one scene. Like there's a lot of people in this movie that just like kind of, because you got a feeling that a lot of the people probably, like, first of all, want to be in a Tarantino movie, but are willing to be a part of this whole vision. I watched the deleted scenes, and one of the deleted scenes is a different Red Apple cigarette ad, and at the very end, it's got James Marsden, who played Cyclops, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. He plays Burt Reynolds in a Red Apple ad. So you get these people that were willing to do like these really much smaller things. Margot Robbie, she's with Harley Quinn, she's a star.
You know what I was wishing? I found myself wishing that theater ticket girl was Harley Quinn Smith talking to Harley Quinn.
Oh,
that would have been kind of cool.
Yeah. And well, that's another one. I guess the camera she uses is wrong in that scene, but who cares about any of that stuff? Because so many of the details
he paid attention to detail without worrying about the details.
Yeah. So let's get into a little bit towards the end, where this movie takes kind of a left turn, right? Like, we know that this is moving towards what is supposed to be Sharon Tate's murder, right? They don't get murdered. All right, we'll spoil that right now. This is a revisionist history movie.
Well, he goes to Italy and then comes back. Then it goes to like a narration part.
Right. But just getting past that. Like, they leave for a while, they come back from Italy, and now we're on the day. Okay. Right. We've gotten to the day.
Now he's married.
He's married. He has the Italian bride. He can't afford Cliff anymore, and they're going out for one last night. And this happens to be the night of the murders. How do you feel, Mike, about when you take something as serious, or I guess, I don't know what, like a true thing like that? Like, I know in Inglourious Bastards, Hitler gets killed in obviously much different way than he died in real life. And I know how that can be looked at, like, probably from a standpoint of like almost like a revenge fantasy for many people. For many people,
fist pumping.
Yeah.
Okay. But still, in Inglourious Bastards, millions of Jewish people died at his hands. How do you feel about a real murder kind of being changed in a film?
I thought it was fun, and I mean fun in the sense that if you from on my first watch, I knew the background and I knew what we were leading to, and I'm watching this flawless recreation of 69, and if we continue that, and I was literally afraid, because I'm like, I don't want to watch a pregnant woman get stabbed
17 times.
And then to take her blood and write pigs on the wall. I'm like, I was literally in the back of my head, I'm like, man, I don't want to see that. I know that's what happened, but I'm like, boy, do I not want to see that as the end of this movie.
Especially when especially in this movie universe, when we've really driven it home that Sharon Tate is like this fucking rainbow of like life.
Yeah. I mean, you wouldn't want to see it anyways, but he does a good job. You know, I think I talked about the jaunt to the bookstore in the movie theater is superfluous, but to your point, it really, we like her. Right. You know, and she's happy that people are laughing or whatever. They like that. You know, they liked her kung fu in the end and whatever. So we got to know her and we like her. So I was dreading it. And then when it was a change, I thought it was great. And I even thought it was great because he just does it all in humor. Right. So they were going to kill Sharon Tate, but then a wasted DiCaprio with a pitcher of margaritas is like, get out of here, you goddamn hippies.
Get this mechanical asshole off my road.
Yeah. Right.
We're just got to turn around. Drive it backwards. And he's drinking the margarita.
Yeah, right out of the pitcher in his robe. Yeah, it was great. So, I mean, they start it with that. You get a hint because, you know, Tarantino cuts to Tex cocking, his 44. Right. But then it doesn't happen. And then it makes sense that because he was a dick to them that they would come to his house.
Change your mind. Let's kill the people that taught us to murder
first. Yeah.
Well, they recognize who he is.
Yeah.
That was Rick Dalton. I had a lunchbox with him.
Yeah, right. It's my favorite lunchbox.
Yeah. So I thought it was a nice change, and I thought that whole they played it with a lot of humor. Obviously, there's a lot of, but that's Tarantino. There's a lot of kind of, I wouldn't call it gore, but there's a lot of
ultra violence.
There's a lot of violence. There's a lot of violence. Yeah.
So just to set this up a little bit here, they get back from a night out. Yeah, 2 separate nights out. Sharon Tate is out with her friend Jay Sebring and her 2 other friends. And Kurt Russell's narrating all this part. Right. He's telling you at 8:03 they go to this restaurant. And at 9:00, Cliff and Rick go to this restaurant. And they all kind of end up back at their neighborly houses at a certain point. And Cliff and Rick are, just chilling out. Rick is making this like big fucking pitcher of margaritas. He's going to go float in the pool.
Just for himself.
Listening to his music on his giant headphones, his 60s headphones. And Cliff decides he had purchased a acid dip cigarette months before, which, by the way, the girl that sold it to him was the little girl daughter from Kill Bill Volume 2, grown up.
Excellent.
Same actress. So he smokes this. He's there. The new Italian bride that Rick has is sleeping in the back room. Brandy, the pit bull, very important that she's there, is also at the house. As Mike said, the Manson family decide that they're going to divert from killing Sharon Tate, as Charles Manson had sent them to go do, and they're going to kill Rick Dalton and maybe whoever else is in the house because he treated them like assholes. So they break into the house. We know from watching the movie that Cliff is probably a dangerous guy, right? Again, probably killed his wife. We don't know, but it's very much out there. Beat the shit out of Clem. He doesn't seem like a guy to fuck with.
Nope.
He's high on this acid dip cigarette. They come into the house and we have this great moment of comedy, right? Where they're just like, hey, he recognizes them from 6 months earlier at the Spawn Ranch.
Well, he's just like, he's so interested. Like the guy comes in and points his 44 at him and he stands there like a mirror image and just points his finger back at him.
Yeah.
Well, it's because he's tripping. Because he even says, "Are you real?"
Yeah. I'm as real as a donut, you motherfucker.
Yeah. So they get this moment and they kind of joke that that's like the Mexican standoff of the movie is Tex with his real gun and Cliff with his finger at him. And then it gets serious. Yeah. Right? It gets very serious. And Tex is with 2 of the girls. It's a melee because Cliff lets it go as far as it's going to go. And then when he decides that there's real danger, he sicks Brandy.
Well, as soon as he hears the gun cocking.
He hears the gun cocking and he
calls his, which we didn't talk about earlier, obviously, because they have to show you how this dog works with the dog food and
right.
So all of this ending though, this is just great movie making because there's an old play acronym that you have to, if you see a gun on the stage, then it has to go off.
Flamethrower.
Yeah, the checkoffs. Yeah, but I mean everything's coming together here because we learn we see the dog, that the dog can kick ass and that Cliff can control her like crazy.
Yeah,
we saw her get an acid dipped cigarette. We saw that Leo knows how to use a flamethrower for real.
We see everything.
Another great, I thought that was the greatest line to just show what an asshole he was right up front when he does that. He uses a flamethrower and he's like, man, could we do something about the heat?
Yeah.
And the guy's
Because
like, it's
Rick,
a
it's a flamethrower.
You know what's actually even better than that? I was reading it today. That was Leonardo DiCaprio's real reaction.
That's awesome.
And the guy said, "Rick,
real...
so that was him just going,
perfect.
can we do something about the heat, not in character?"
Because as an actor, I think, well, we could tone this down, right?
You figure,
it's a fucking flamethrower. You can't tone down the heat.
It's a fucking flamethrower.
But yeah, I mean, just the movie making here, just he's bringing everything together. On top of the fact that we've been working towards, we showed the Manson people, and we know they're coming. We know that they're gonna, go to this house, and everything's just here, and then it just lets loose.
And we talked about, like, as we do in all these movies, we talk about the soundtrack is great in this movie, all the great 60s stuff. And there's so much happening in this last scene that it's almost like a cacophony of different noises like hitting you, because you have the dog noises, right? He sicks the dog on them, and the dog immediately fucking incapacitates Tex by
bone crunching,
attacking him, crunching his arm, going for the fucking balls.
Meanwhile,
on the radio, you've got "Keep Me Hanging On" playing.
Yeah.
That's going on. Cliff is high as fuck. So he's like kind of like in control
sort of
still.
laughing, but
he's he's like spaced out. He ends up kind of dealing with the redheaded girl until she stabs him. And then he fucking...
Well, before that, doesn't the girl run after him?
The girl
with the knife?
The girl runs after him.
Dog food can right in the face.
Oh, he fucking breaks her nose with the dog food can.
That was brutal.
That girl, now you've got that girl in this whole scene screaming at the top of her lungs.
Yeah. Say that, just the entire time.
She's screaming like a crazy person, and you can't blame her.
No.
Like, she gets the dog food
like
can in the face.
60 mile an hour dog food right in your face.
Yeah. It's all this shit going down at once. Cliff gets stabbed in the hip, and then he fucking really kills the fuck out of the redheaded girl. He slams her face into every surface in that house. The phone, the mantle place. Meanwhile, the girl who's been attacked by the dog and the can to the face, she jumps and bursts through the French doors. The French doors. She's got glass in her eyes.
Yeah.
She ends up falling into the pool. That Rick is floating in the pool.
With the 44 still in her hand, right?
Right. She's shooting in the air. He's in the pool. He freaks out. What does he go get?
His flamethrower.
Yeah.
He goes into the garage and gets his flamethrower.
And it's greatly blocked off too, because he's just wasted in the pool, and he's like, because he doesn't hear all the stuff's going on inside.
60 headphones.
Yeah, because she comes out and he's flipping out. He drops this big thing of margaritas, and then he goes out of frame for a minute.
Yep.
So you don't know what's coming, and then he just comes out and just
backpack on, flamethrower across his chest.
Yeah, this is badass.
Absolutely terminates her. Absolutely terminates her.
Yeah. So I mean, I think this, like you talked about, Inglourious Bastards. It's kind of the idea of Django Unchained. Him that he breaks out and gets revenge, but I think this was the perfect version of that idea, because you had. Like I said, or at least I did, I had the dread that I don't really want to watch pregnant women get stabbed. Then it changes, starting by humor, because DiCaprio's character is wasted and yelling at hippies. You are cheering on, because I mean, this is the fucking Manson family, so fuck them.
Yeah,
kill them all. And then and then it's this just completely over the top, in the end with the flamethrower, and then it just chills out, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Then we eventually pan over and we get J.C. Bring and Sharon Tate again, and
they meet up with Rick.
Yep,
and they have this conversation. And, hey, why don't you? It's his. He's lived next to them for 6 or 7 months, and this is their first contact.
Yep,
and the night ends differently. And again, this is a fairy tale, so it's okay. I guess I asked the question because when I did know this before I saw this movie. I had heard that it ended with them not getting killed. And at first I thought that's a fine line. That could be tasteless, or that could be done really well. It's done really well.
It's done really well. And I went opening night, and so I didn't know. And I was purposely, I didn't. If I really, really know I'm going to love a movie, or that I want to see a movie, I don't know I'm going to love it. But I just cut myself off. I watch a couple trailers, and I just stop because I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, I don't know this. I didn't mean. I think maybe someone told me, or because again, it took me 2 years to see this fucking thing.
Well, of course, yes.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I think it's a great turnaround. I think it's a great turnaround. It breaks attention. You got a lot of dark humor. A lot of people don't like the dark humor. Like I know my ex-mother-in-law, she was over when we watched The Hateful Eight, and at the end, when it was like literally a bloodbath, she was like, "What? I'm out of here," you know. And this is very similar as well, you know. Before that, you know, Cliff's a badass, but you know, his fight with Bruce Lee and then his fight with the guys at Swan Ranch is just fist fights. You know, they're brutal, whatever.
Right.
You know, you're not literally killing people.
We see something
But
else.
what makes this okay is you're killing the Manson family.
Right.
So it's okay.
Right. Much like when the Bear Jew and Omar shoot the fuck out of Hitler. And he looks like a Muppet.
The fist pumping moment.
It's you know, you're going to root for that.
Yep.
Because you wish, unfortunately, it didn't happen, but you wish Sharon Tate and Sebring and all of them had survived this. You know, they did not.
But even throughout that movie, like, you know, everybody's down for them to kill Nazis all day long.
Right.
You know, it's like, yeah, kill them all.
All right. So that's basically Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Manster, why don't we talk about some Tarantino-isms? Then we'll go into the box office real quick. We got some award stuff. We'll rate it, and then we'll talk about the book and some of the stuff that Mike read in the book that might give us some clues into these characters.
All right. So guess what? We don't have a trunk scene in this one.
No, you're right.
No trunk scene. So let's move on to Bare Feet.
Oh, boy.
So here you got Cliff's White in the boat, Sharon Tate watching in the movie theater, Pussycat with her feet on the freaking windshield in the car, every single person in that hippie house in George Spawn's house when they first go into there. He's really making up for the lack of bare feet in Hateful Eight. So
you know, except for the fact that he has to stick them in the camera, it makes sense that hippies don't have their shoes on.
Yeah, right.
But I'm like, did you have to stick it in the camera?
Yeah, he likes feet.
I know.
Record player close up. Jay Sebring playing records towards the end of the movie there when the murders are going to go down. Dancing scene. Lots of dancing, Playboy Mansion, and she's always dancing, Sharon Tate, it seems.
She's always dancing. She's happy.
Yep. The black and white scene, the very beginning of the movie, there's an interview with the two bounty law guys. The diner scene, Rick and Marvin in the bar.
Yep.
The car scene, everybody going everywhere in this movie is done in a car. Lots of
Mike said, a lot of car shit.
Yeah. That scene I just referred to, the black and white scene with Dalton and Cliff, that was shot in the same scene where in Inglourious Bastards, where he takes Django and gets the bounty in the town.
Wait a minute, you said Inglourious Bastards and Django.
Yeah, what?
I'm not.
Oh, you mean
in Django
Bounty Law?
The scene in Bounty Law.
Okay.
Where they were filming on the steps of that porch.
Oh, okay.
Black and white.
Yeah.
It's the same scene in Django, not in Inglourious Bastards. Same scene, same place in Django, where Django and King Schultz go.
Oh,
then shoot the sheriff.
Okay.
Same place, same exact.
Well,
place.
it was filmed. I don't remember the name of it, but it was filmed on like a
Melody Ranch.
Yeah, it was a ranch or like a back. What do you want to call this? A back lot western.
Yep.
Lot.
Comic books. When you go into Cliff's trailer, you see a bunch of comic books. You had the Reservoir Dogs scene with all the guys walking together. You get the same thing with the Manson girls all walking.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Getting their pickles.
The Red Apple cigarettes. Obviously, Cliff smokes them, and then you get the advert in the end with Rick Dalton, and then I guess with James Marsden, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Big Kahuna burgers appear on a billboard. You already talked about Antonio Margheriti. Yeah. And then we get some new brands. So I don't know. Maybe these will continue in his next movie. The Chattanooga beer, which is a new brand, and we'll get to it now. The dog food. All right, it's called Wolf's Tooth Dog Food.
What was it like? What did it say? Dog food for mean dogs?
Yes, it said dog food for mean dogs, and you've got a variety of flavors there. So you have the yellow can is rat flavored.
Yep.
The blue can is bird flavored. The greenish can is raccoon flavored. And there's a brown can you can see in the cabinet that's lizard flavored.
Lizard.
Yeah. There's also orange, but it's turned so you can't see.
You don't know what it
is.
No. If you watch the deleted scenes and extras from the Blu-ray, there is a commercial for Old Chattanooga beer.
Okay.
And it is narrated by Walton Goggins.
Oh, nice.
It's meant to seem like, Old Chattanooga. He's like talking like that, and it's like, brewed since 1856, and then the same, it looks like a commercial. It doesn't necessarily look like it's an older commercial,
right?
But it looks like it's just a commercial for Old Chattanooga beer. Yeah.
So maybe we'll see it in his 10th film.
All right, so that's some Tarantino-isms. How did this thing do in the box office, Lloyd? This is like a 3-hour movie in the summer.
Yeah,
that's a tough sell.
Like I said, $90 to $96 million budget, made $41 million in its opening weekend, 142.5 domestic and 374 worldwide. So let me give you that weekend. So number 5 was Crawl, the alligator movie.
I saw that in the theaters. I enjoyed that.
I enjoyed that movie.
It's amusing.
Yep. Number 4 was Toy Story 4.
Haven't seen it.
Yeah. Spider-Man Far From Home, which I've never seen.
Yeah.
This came in at number 2, Once a Time in Hollywood. And number 1 that week was The Lion King.
Oh, the live action
one. Live action.
Yeah. This box office, I mean, it's not terrible by any means. It made the money back, but this is a lot of the big movie heads point out that this is the decline, the continuing decline of our love of movies and caring that movies are well made and not just product or
remakes or product.
Because here's somebody that's a great director that's handcrafting a movie and people barely go see it, but any superhero movie, even ones that suck, like
they go see the live action Lion King.
Yeah,
who the fuck gave a fuck about that? No, it seemed like nobody did, but it beat this out.
Right. Yeah, it's just it's interesting.
So on the year that year, number 10 was Jumanji, The Next Level, $800 million. Number 9, Aladdin. Number 8, Toy Story 4. Number 7, Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. Number 6, Joker. 5, Captain Marvel. 4, Spider-Man Far From Home. 3, Frozen 2. 2, The Lion King. And number 1, Avengers Endgame.
Rough year.
Yeah, rough year
for the movies.
Yeah.
So I'll give you 3 movies and tell me what order. I'll start with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, 1917, and Shazam.
Defer to Officer Mike.
Shazam. So I'm going to say 1917 third.
And this is worldwide, by the way.
Once Upon a Time second, and then Shazam that made more money of all 3.
Are you like in Mensa or something? You get it right every time.
He's good. He's good at this game.
Yeah. And not by that much. So Shazam was 365 million. Once Upon a Time, 374. 1917, 384.
All right. And did you say there were some awards that this thing garnered? Let's do that real quick, and then we'll get into the ratings.
Yeah, let's do that. So it's nominated for several. I think 10. Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Leo. Best Supporting Actor, Brad. Best Original Screenplay, Cinematography, Costume Design, Production Design, Sound Editing, and Sound Mixing. It only won 2. Best Supporting Actor, Brad Pitt, and Best Production Design, Barbara Ling and Nancy Haig.
Did Pitt won the Oscar for this, or this is a Screen Guild Award?
No, Academy Award.
Really? I didn't know he won the Oscar for this.
That's what I got. That's what
I don't pay attention to that stuff. So
yeah, me neither.
That's news to me. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying I pay so little attention to that I didn't know he did. That's awesome because he's great in this.
Yeah.
All right, let's rate it. Let's talk about this is on the QT, but we go Pint O'Comic scale, which is 0 to 5, quarter scale optional. Let's start with our guest tonight, Officer Mike Simonetta from Connecticut Cult Classics.
I want to know what he thinks.
Yeah, well, this is going to be a change for me because everybody's used to me shitting on everything. But I absolutely love this movie. I think it's the culmination of Tarantino working up to this. It's such in his wheelhouse, recreating this time period and talking about films because everybody knows how much he loves them. I'm going to go 4.8.
4.75?
Wow. Oh, we got to go on quarter scale?
Quarter scale.
4.75 then.
Okay. Oh, I'm not trying to bust balls, but I wanted to see if that would push you to a 5.
Okay.
No, it's not flawless.
Okay.
But it's damn close.
Okay. I'll go next. I really love this movie. All right. Out of all the movies we've done, I think this is fitting that it's the last one because I'm trying to be respectful and keep this to a short podcast. And I think we've hopped around. I think we've talked a good amount about the stuff we want to talk about. But I feel like if we were just sitting around the table talking, we could talk about this for a couple hours, right?
Oh, easy.
Very easly. So I'm trying to think of the audience out there as well. Didn't watch this till a couple months ago. I watched it twice in the last 2 months. Obviously, the second one for this. 4.5. And I'm going to say 4.5 with the ability to grow up to a 4.75.
Okay.
All right. I think a little bit more, another viewing might get me there.
If it gets enough blood in it, 4.75.
Yeah. It's a little bit more. No, it's just.
Had you watched it when it came out and then you came back now, I think you probably have even more appreciation.
I probably would. I just, like I said, I just watched this the other night and I'm already like, I could watch this again in a few months. I kind of mentioned it before and it's kind of hard for me to vocalize, but I feel like it's like a perfect hang movie. Like you just watch it and you just like let go and you're involved in it, but you also just feel like you're kind of there with the characters. Right. There's some movies that do that very well. There's some movies that are great movies that you don't feel that way. You feel like, okay, I'm watching something and I'm immersed in this, but there's something about this movie that feels very familiar and you like these characters and you want to kind of see them. You don't want to see Sharon Tate murdered. You kind of want to see Rick Dalton like do well. Right. You kind of want to see all this kind of stuff, and you kind of want to see the Manson family get fucking hit in the face with a can at 60 miles an hour, and flamethrowered in a fucking pool, which is fucking awesome. Yeah. But all right, Manster, what do you give it?
All right, so yeah, it's got everything. He's really stepped his game up. From the first one to this one. It's got humor, drama, ridiculous situations, great performances, and the music is spot on. It's so good. All the staples of a great Tarantino movie. It weaves facts and fiction together really well. I'm so glad they didn't end in the murder of Tate and that stuff. It's complex and layered, and it demands multiple viewings. I've seen it 3 times. I did not see it in the movie theater. But I saw it last year, and I've watched it twice, this year in preparation for this. And it follows the old, Chekhov's flamethrower rule. If you show it in the beginning, you got to use it in the end.
Yep.
I've given 2 movies a 5. This one, 4.75.
Wait, so you gave 2 Tarantino movies 5?
I gave Inglourious Bastards and Pulp Fiction 5 because of reasons.
I gave Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction 5s.
Yeah.
And you guys are holding back on this, huh?
Only because, and anybody who listens to Pint O'Comics knows, I fell asleep a little bit in this movie.
But if you watch it 3 times, you've seen it fully at least once.
Exactly, I've seen it fully, of course. But
we talked about this a little. I know you fell asleep.
Slightly boring parts. I'm not saying it's a boring movie at all.
See, I don't think there's anything boring in this movie.
But there's parts where you might zone out.
I found, because this is a long movie.
Yeah,
it's 3 hours. He wanted it 4? That was his original
cut was 4.
Yeah, but it goes by for me. Sometimes when things are even when there's a lot of action, like the Last Avengers. Like I looked at, I don't own a watch, but I was looking at my phone like, Jesus, when are we gonna end this thing? And I don't feel that way about this.
I agree. I'm
gonna go back and watch it again probably before the end of the year.
Yeah, I don't find anything boring in this one, but I still go 4.5. I really, really, really fucking enjoy this, but I also feel like, again, this can go up. So right now I'm feeling 4.5. All right.
Me and Mike are right on, and you're right there,
right there. All right. Let's finish this off. Let's finish on the QT off. Thank you again for everybody that's listened. Thank you again to all of our wonderful guests. But let's do a little addendum to this and just talk to Mike real quick about some of the stuff you learned in the movie, you learned in the book that came out 2 years after the movie came out, which is right now in our time.
Yep, it just came out. So first off, on the Bret Easton Ellis podcast, Quentin Tarantino explained how he does things, and he actually says that he writes these screenplays as novels, as books. So he writes it out as he goes along, and there's a lot more detail. They're not pure screenplays of just action, light here, door opens, etc. And of this, he said this novel is a complete rethinking of the movie. So we get a lot of differences. We get a lot more details. Actually, I shouldn't say a lot of differences, just some slight differences, but a lot of different details. And this really takes a deep dive into Cliff. So, when you watch the movie, as we talked about, Cliff is a bit of a cipher. Did he kill his wife? How can he be such a badass that he beats Bruce Lee? Other things like that. Some bullet points. There's a few scene changes. I'll just start off, like the opening scene with Pacino. That actually takes place in an office building. I think it's better to be at a bar, but it was in his office because he's an agent. Cliff is waiting in the front room with the secretary. He starts hitting on the secretary, and then you just get this weird tangent Again, this is just Tarantino going off, but where Cliff is just this crazy film buff. And it literally is like 2 pages of him listing all these movies he loves. Biggest thing being he loves Toshiro Mifune, and he'll go see anything that Toshiro Mifune is in, which is again, it doesn't seem like Cliff would be a deep.
Sounds like he's writing himself.
Yeah, a deep, foreign movie guy, but that's what he had. So 3 or 4 times in the book, they definitively say he killed his wife.
Okay, that's why I heard he killed his wife. Yeah.
So, and then in a second,
he hits her with a harpoon gun, and she like rips in half. Right.
He explains it that he rips in half. He immediately feels bad about it, and the scene is that he holds her together. He calls the Coast Guard. He holds her together, but when they try to bring her on shore, her body falls apart and her guts fall out and she dies.
Right.
Oh boy!
But he feels bad about it, and he tells her he loves her and everything while he's holding her together. So,
but he feels bad about it, but he doesn't feel bad about getting away with it, right? Like
no. So there's another point in there where they make a point that outside of the people he killed in the war, and they say that he supposedly killed more Japanese in the Pacific than anyone else. That's just his legend here. But he killed 3 people and he got away with it outside of that. So he definitely killed his wife, but he was regretful. So another point which kind of fills in is on his own, we have this whole side story where he meets a guy and the guy says, if you give me some money, we'll go start a dog fighting ring. We're going to buy a dog and start fighting the dog. And that's the dog in the that we see in the movie, which explains why the dog's such a vicious. At a certain point, the guy gets really greedy, and he says, let's go put her in another fight, but she hasn't healed yet from the last fight, and Cliff thinks this is terrible, and he kills the guy, drives him downtown, here's a trunk scene, throws him in the trunk of the car, he leaves him in L.A., he gets away with that, and then at another point, he killed a gangster, and he got away with that. So they definitively say he killed 3 people and got away with it. They say there's a lot more detail that Rick Dalton is a worse alcoholic than he's shown. There are scenes of him puking on himself, puking in his bed, and things like that.
Well, I mean, real quick, in the movie, the scene where he goes to the Lancer set in the beginning and he's just coughing all over himself.
Oh yeah,
like uncontrollably. Terrible. Like that's a hard living dude.
Yeah. But and then on top of that, they make a big point that he and another actor figure out that they're both bipolar. And that they understand why they have problems, et cetera, because they're bipolar. And then to go back, you probably heard it from these items, John. That the fight, he purposely picks the fight with Bruce Lee because stunt people hate Bruce Lee because supposedly Bruce Lee hits. He didn't pull punches and he hit the stunt men all the time.
Right.
So he purposely picks that fight. Another weird, and this goes to Tarantino. Maybe a third of the way in the novel, they just throw an aside of how they're talking about Rick is failing as an actor, but then they say he kills a bunch of hippies and he becomes popular and he ends up on Johnny Carson and he gets more roles and things like that.
Right.
But it's just so weird because it's literally a third of the way through the movie and they just kind of throw that away.
Yeah.
But they don't say it's the Manson family, but they do say that.
And that's kind of what we're left thinking at the end of the movie is that he's on the up, because now he's being introduced to Sharon Tate, and you kind of get the feeling that maybe this is like him.
He's on the rise.
He's on the rise now.
Yeah. So I mean, those were the main differences. A lot more realism. Tarantino is trying to do some of his movie tricks in the book. Like I talked about how they shot that scene, and then in Lancer, we see the whole scene being shot, and then DiCaprio breaks because he doesn't know his line and all that. In the book, they do an entire chapter that's the story of Lancer, but they just say it. It's like you're reading a Western all of a sudden, and then you go to the next chapter, and then it's cut, and they're all sitting on the set, etc. So he's trying to replicate it. Overall, it was interesting. I don't think he has a future as a novelist. Like this is great if you want more details, but I wouldn't suggest somebody just go read this.
Right.
I think they'd be a bit lost,
Right.
like what's going on.
You have to know the movie to read the book.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, if you love it, go
Yeah,
go
if you
read
like-
it. There's
if
more
you
details.
Like expanded universe stuff, go read it.
Yeah, yeah. It was interesting, but and it's a weird thing, like you said. It is a long time after to release it.
Yeah, 2 years.
Yeah,
2 years.
and it doesn't seem to make because they've talked about. I say it doesn't seem to make sense because they talked about a 4-hour cut somewhere along the line.
Unless COVID pushed it back a year. Unless COVID fucked everything up.
Yeah,
COVID fucked a lot up. So
yeah, I mean, it just seems weird that he releases it and he's pushing this hard, but there's no, like, it's not like now go get the new cut or of the movie or whatever. But
Master, our time is done here.
It's done.
It's done.
We're
over.
over. No more QT. We're off the QT.
We're off the QT.
Well, wait, you guys aren't going to do the 4 rooms?
No.
Not as part of this.
We're retiring on this one. Maybe we'll do it over on our other podcast, Pint O'Comics. If you've been listening to this one and you haven't heard of that one, 200 plus episodes.
Yeah, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah, head over there. Check it out. Pretty Pleased with Sugar on top. Again, thank you to all of the listeners of On the QT. Thanks to Forgotten Entertainment for having us do this. Thanks to all of our guests, including you, Mr. Mike Simonetta, the sheriff of Pint O'Comics. Thank you so much for coming here and talking up Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And Lloyd, I guess, do you want to say anything to the people out there before we go?
Well, we're Pint O'Comics.
Hell yeah.
See ya.
See ya.